Good morning, good evening, or maybe good afternoon, everybody. Hi, my name is Vivian Acquah, and I'm the Inclusive Workplace Wellness Advocate. And I have to remind myself that this is the Amplify DEI Summit, where we are going to talk about strengthen pride at work. And today, I have the honor to have Liam Pieters, who is the Global Consumer Industry Leader at Deloitte. I also have Yuli Kim, who is an L&D program manager and a DEI consultant. I also have Scott Mason, talented leadership coach, speaker. I have Olivia Fromm, who is the regional D&I co-chair iPride EMEA and also a senior L&D specialist at Indeed. And I have Isis Cruz, performing artist and designer. Welcome, everybody. Let's start with you, Isis. Why is pride at work important? What should people know about pride at work?
I think it's important well, especially for everyone to be safe at work. In the past, I had a very negative experience while working in fashion, and because I was going through my transition, and the company I was working for, the owner didn't really like the idea of me transitioning. And even though this company also, during Pride, they would raise the rainbow flag, they would serve Skittles, and I think it's really important to also practice what you preach. And eventually, I think Pride is also, it starts with me. At that time, maybe I wasn't really proud of who I was at that time. And I also didn't really stand up for myself. And through experience, I have become stronger. And it's a really important subject for everyone.
Thank you for sharing that, and also thank you for sharing your personal story with me. And I only want to say that even though your mind wasn't there at the time, it's never your fault how people
No,
react to
no,
you. It's never your fault when people
yeah.
bully you. I want to mention that, of course. And Julie, what's your perspective on the question that I have to share?
Yeah, well, as LGBTQ plus people, we're known for trendsetters, right? So it it brings hope, and pride brings hope, positivity, kindness that transforms into psychological safety. I mean, everybody should. It should be a human rights to feel
Yeah,
safe at work, but not
yeah.
everybody feels safe at work. So by implementing more LGBTIQ plus inclusive culture, I, I think it brings more kindness and understanding into the workplace, and that transforms into, as again, psychological safety. But
Mm,
also, many studies shown or indicated that it's connected to people's engagement, satisfaction, and many more that drive into organizational competitiveness. So it is not only the right thing to do, but it makes a business sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. And Leon.
Yeah, let me take a little bit of more the employer angle to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that pride at work is the recognition to your LGBT plus employees that you really value them, that you take the challenges serious, and that you want to include them for the full 100%. But even more important, I believe it's a clear signal to the rest of the organization that you value everyone, even
Mm-hmm.
if they differ from the common denominator. So I believe it's a recognition to the LGBT plus employees and actually to all employees that you can bring your authentic self to work. And I too often have seen, even with the straight, heterosexual, Christian colleagues around us, that they find it difficult to bring their authentic self to work.
Yeah,
And I think it's all about authenticity.
yeah. Thank you. I even have I'm a bit emotional right now, so I'm passing the mic on to Olivia, and thank you, Leon, for sharing that.
I would say a big thing for me is that safe space. I mean, I moved over from Scottsdale to London about 3 years ago and kind of had to come out to my colleagues all over again, which is definitely, you know, it's trying. It's very trying. And the Pride community is making sure that I have a safe space to come out at work and that I am supported by my fellow colleagues and also I walk into a place that people are already allies. Like it also helps kind of facilitate a lot of those allyship type conversations, as it's not, everyone has a different way of coming out, and being this big part of my identity, my day-to-day life. It was really important that I felt safe in my workspace, so that's a big piece for me.
What message would you share for those who are doubting to share, to come out at the workplace? What is that one thing that you would like to share with them?
I found someone at work that I felt comfortable to come out to first. And it was through conversations with that person and that friendship of them showing me that they can be an ally that I felt comfortable to come out to other colleagues. So it was that advocate who made me feel comfortable from day one. And I would say, if you are having a hard time coming out, if there is someone in your workspace, talk to them, have those conversations, because sometimes just, I don't say brainstorming, but kind of trying that coming out experience with one person makes it a lot easier to do it with multiple people.
Thank you for sharing. And Scott?
I want to start by personalizing it a little bit, funneling it out to the macro, and taking it back down again. All of us before the show started were talking about, or came up in conversation, the lockdowns and how they're changing. Here in the United States, 1 out of every 500 people is dead because of COVID. We're coming out of the biggest public health crisis in the history of this planet while we've been alive. But anyone who thinks that this challenge is going to be the last one that we as a culture or as a society encounter, living in a fool's paradise. We have greater challenges ahead. And businesses, organizations of all sorts, are going to need to be able to adapt, to be able to be flexible and innovate, or they will not be able to meet those challenges. And to do that, the brightest and most creative minds need to be at the table every last day, making every last decision, and they need to be fully engaged. Pride at work matters, because if you have an entire population of creative, bright people who don't feel safe, who feel like Isis mentioned, they can't transition safely, or that if they come out, they're not going to be supported, you're losing minds. Your business is at stake. Your ability to sustain, be flexible, innovate, can be gone. That idea that you miss because you were not fully integrating pride into your operations or into your thinking may be what keeps you from being able to survive. The future demands that pride at work matter.
Thank you. I'm sharing some of the comments. So Sakia, who's also a speaker, will be joining. And Gurpreet is saying hi to everybody. And this is an extra one for you. Preach. It feels like when I'm talking to Scott, it's always like I'm in church and can I get an amen? So going to the next question. A lot of companies are using Pride for rainbow marketing, especially in the months of June, July. What can we do to support companies to support Pride in a sustainable way? Because I believe that Pride is 365 days where you are supporting your community. What's the tip that you would like to share, Leon, with the companies?
Yeah, a couple of things here. First of all, I believe Pride is all about authenticity. So if you do this only for external marketing, please stop it now. Because many of us spoke about creating that safe environment. So you have to have your act together within your own company. And of course, that is a long journey. But you have to be, halfway of that journey, or whatever percentage you would like to apply to it. You have to have made visible actions within your company to also show that you have created that safe environment before you can make that visible to the external world. You are standing for your principles. And that is what, the rainbow marketing is about. I also believe that it should not be limited to that 1 month. This is a constant, I would say, constantly, you have to express the same message that, you care about authenticity, that you create an environment where people can be themselves. And you also have to, walk the talk. So, you have to make your leaders that are LGBT plus, visible in the external space. You have to create, an environment where, a lot of talent is attracted to your company because of the values that you have and the processes and procedures that you have in place. And I think that is much more important marketing than branding your products with a rainbow.
So would you rather not see any more rainbow activities, or do we need them?
No. I absolutely believe that you need to continue with it, because, at least for 1 month, you put pretty much into the face of, the non-LGBT plus people, that LGBT plus employees and people, that we really care about them, that they have specific challenges, but they are also proud of the people that they are. So it is 365 days, heterosexual day. So let it be 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, the LGBT plus week, day, or month.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And Julie, I see you smiling. What do you have to share?
Well, quite similar to what Leon already said, but there are 2 practical sort of advice to the organizations. One is to distribute the resources evenly. Well, the 11th other month, we're still here, loud and proud, Pride. Then it's like a little bit like a marketing campaign. If you want to bring the keep to the Pride month, that's fine. But there are many other months that you can do so much for LGBTQ plus, and also other more marginalized group of people. And so the one is to distribute your resources, and then the second advice is to connect all the activities back to your organizational values. So your mission statement or organizational goals, strategic values, and all the things that you put out on your website, based on those, and then you plan the activities around LGBTQ Pride Month or rainbow marketing. As an organization, I can understand what the organization wants to push or sell the products and services. There's nothing wrong with that. However, when you do all these activities based on your organizational values, you're kind of building the building blocks of the trust from the consumers. So when you do something during the Pride Month, the consumers also know they can connect back to the previous month or the in the past for the TV commercial or marketing campaigns and other activities that particular organization is not just doing this because it's a Pride Month. The consumers understand why this organization is doing it, and just kind of connect the dots. So that brings a business success, and that also brings more awareness around LGBTQ plus people and lives. So I think it can be a win-win. We can build a win-win relationship with the consumers and organization around the Pride Month.
Thank you. Isis.
I think it's nice that it's there's like a spotlight for a short period of time. But what I heard before from Leon and also from Yuli, it's something that should be stretched all over. And like what I said before, from experience, to really practice what you preach. And I'm sorry, English is not really my first language.
You don't have to apologize, first of all.
Difficult.
And second of all, I would like to ask a follow-up question that is, what would you like to see? Because you work in the fashion domain. What would you like to see with fashion embracing pride?
I think fashion is mostly dominated already by the LGBTQ community. So in the fashion industry, it's maybe well, I had a bad experience, but it's not something that's really common to happen. I don't know so much about other businesses and corporations, but I think in fashion, and especially also in the art scene and art world, it's something, it's more natural. And it doesn't really matter if you're trans, you're bi, you're black, whatever. It's more inclusive for everyone. And but what I do hear from like corporations, that is a little bit more tougher, especially if you're a minority. I think maybe the energy of the art and fashion scene to be more, I think a lot of big corporations can also learn from that, how it works over there.
That's a valuable lesson. Thank you, Isis, for sharing that. And Scott?
3 things. First of all, I agree with the concept of celebrating Pride months. And again, Isis, you mentioned Skittles earlier. Don't take away the Skittles. I like my Skittles, as well as all the other things. However, in addition to the things that everyone else said, number 2, we are living in a time, as I mentioned earlier, of tremendous social upheaval. And people are responding to that upheaval at a cultural and at a political level. Sometimes with things like here in the United States, attempts to ban trans people from the military or other sorts of repressive measures. Are you, as a company, there on Pride Month when it's fun and when there's candy to pass around and parades to put your logo on? That's cool. Are you saying something when these repressive measures are in place? Are you taking a stand? Or are you suddenly deciding on that day, well, we're not political? Be political if you really care. Otherwise, you're exposed as purely transactional or exploitative. And phoniness in authentic pride only damages the cause. And people see right through it. Then finally, day to day, how is leadership behaving? I was in a C-suite meeting one time at a company that I worked for that touts itself as being LGBTQ AI plus progressive. And it is. And what demonstrated that was that there was a trans woman that had been hired into one of the facilities that this company had. And the leader of that particular division in a C-suite meeting was referring to this person, but he said he, she, it, whatever. The CEO stopped, said, get the pronouns right. It's time for you to get it together. And he said it just like that. That sent a message. So day to day, are we as leaders sending those messages? Are you? Those messages that people see in real life are really what's communicated and that people feel, not just stickers on at a parade.
I love that. And also, thank you for reminding that, because I don't know if you have seen the welcome message of Amplify DEI, but I included the Indeed video where Indeed is introducing a transgender woman where they are asking about her pronouns, right? It's such an easy way of stating that you are inclusive, but also just asking, because here in the Netherlands, it's a huge mess, a huge fuss when we are talking about some people would like to be referred to them. Some people would like to be referred to she. Some people would like to be referred to he. That's a very simple step that you can take to invite inclusion, to ask somebody, how would you like to reference them? How would you like to talk to them? And that's a huge way. So again, plugging here Indeed, because they did an amazing video. It's 50 seconds. And so much is there. So much is in that video. So thank you. Olivia. Yes. Oh, Leon. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to amplify what you're saying, Vivian. But still, it can be a very difficult question for people to answer.
Yeah.
So therefore, I really would like to advise, start yourself by introducing who you want to be named, because that really lowers all of the barriers for the other person at the other side of the table or whatever your setting is, to be very open about the he or they would like to be named.
True. And thank you for sharing that, Leon. Thank you. Olivia, do you have anything else to share on top of that?
Oh my gosh, where do I start? All of you guys have such incredible points. Obviously, I'm an inclusion group co-chair, so I'm in charge of iPride for Indeed, and that ad that you were talking about, I think I cry every single time I watch it. It's probably one of the most emotional ads we've ever released. My partner is trans, and so that's like a big conversation in my day-to-day life. And I remember when I was talking to my mom about how to use pronoun usage. It's not something she does. My mom's an artist. She does quilting, and she typically does it for an older generation. That pronouns aren't something they use in their day-to-day. And now every single Zoom call she goes on, she asks for everyone's pronouns. So it's just those little changes that she's made in her day-to-day, which makes such an impact. But how to bring pride, instead of just like for Pride Month, how to extend it. I make sure that we have some sort of celebration or education type thing, if it's not every single month, but every other month, so that we continue to have that focus on how to be more prideful in the workspace. Like, as we all know, October 11th is coming out day. How we can have, and in the UK, it's also, I believe it's in the UK, or it's in Americas, it's also like Black Heritage Month.
It's in the UK. Yeah.
Okay, it's in the UK. I was like, it's either February or October.
Yeah.
But we want to have Black queer voices talking about their coming out experience.
Yeah.
So those are the sorts of things that we do to make sure that we are getting more voices out there. And then, as you know, in December for World AIDS Day, we're going to have some sort of talk with people about the LGBTQ community and how AIDS is impacting our community. But it's making sure that we don't just talk about it in June or July, but we have these conversations, we have these educational pieces, multiple times a year, to keep that education and the energy going. And they can get stickers year round if they want to. I will send everyone a sticker.
I like the fact that you are sharing that you not only focus on the LGBT community, but you add in the intersectionality element by collaborating with other ERG groups, right? We see, at least I see so many ERG groups being siloed, where there is such more power when we unite. There's such more power when we collaborate, where you're not talking about exclusion for one group, you're talking about exclusion for other groups and raising awareness for people to embrace people. That's it. So collaborate. So thank you, Olivia, for highlighting that, because that's where the power is. There are communities, and there are special communities, of course, but find a way to collaborate with each other, to unite each other's strengths. So thank you. I will start with Scott. What is your message for leaders when it comes to workplace pride? What is that one thing that if you had a 1 minute, what would you tell them? 1 minute.
Pride presents a unique opportunity for you as a leader to stand up, to be there, to practice being a real leader day after day after day. The opportunity to be a leader is a precious one. Snatch it, take it, run, be it.
You still have 30 seconds.
I'll let other folks talk longer. Sometimes there's virtue in being pithy.
Thank you. Olivia, if you had that one thing, that 1 minute in the elevator with so many leaders, what would you tell them?
Join Pride. Join any inclusion group, because at the end of the day, if you do it, then your employees feel like they can do it too. And that's kind of how we get more people involved and advocating for one another, also be allies, not just for Pride, but for other groups, because they're unafraid to join if you yourself are willing to put the effort in.
You are so short all. Okay, I need to come up with a separate question. Isis, come on. What would you say if you had the ear of a leader today? Oh, let me unmute you. Yes, sorry.
I think to learn from all the beautiful experiences, and everybody has a history, a story, and some are painful, and some are really courageous. And I think by learning and listening, you can take all this knowledge that has been turned into wisdom and just ooze it all up, and better yourself.
Yeah. Thank you. Leon.
So I picture myself in a 2-minute elevator lift,
That's fine.
right? Yeah, with a leader that does not have yet workplace pride in their organization. And I would say to the leader, you have so much untapped value within your workforce that you are not using. Pride is needed to create a safe environment for your workforce. It's a clear signal that you can bring your whole self to work. And do you know, leader, my dear leader, that up to 30% of the effort of the energy of people that are not yet out in the workforce is spent on pretending to be someone else, someone else that they think that you as leader, they need to comply to. Let them be themselves, because that 30% of energy, you better want them to put on your products, on your clients, on whatever task you have given that employees. Another fact based on research is that, if you look to the workforce, the percentage of people reporting themselves sick is much higher for the people that are not yet out in the workplace. The burnout ratio is around twice as much as all of the rest of the employees. So there's an awful lot of untapped value, and you are actually stupid, my dear leader, if you're not tapping that value out of your workforce. Amen.
I cannot agree on anything else. Thank you so much for saying this, Leon. It means a lot. But also it means so much that people don't realize when people cannot be themselves and bring their whole selves to the workplace, they are burning out not only faster, but you're losing such a high potential. And that experience will be connected to your brand. That experience, they will talk at birthdays, they will talk at meetings, they will talk at networks, and have that back connection with your brand. That it could be easily prevented if you just open up and have that awareness, or raise that conversation, or have a conversation with one of the experts here on the table. If you don't feel comfortable with, starting from within the company, have that conversation with a coach so that they will guide you through this whole process, so that they can support you in activating pride at work. Thank you.
Yeah.
Julie.
And by the way, I said, Vivian, it does not only apply to LGBT plus people.
Yeah.
I think it applies to people, from a different than common religion, from a different cultural background. You can apply it to everyone that is a little bit different than a common denominator.
Coming from you, it means a lot. So thank you. Yeah. Julie.
I see pride, LGBTQ plus inclusion as universal design. If you have LGBTQ plus inclusive culture, it's about increasing psychological safety, or how people feel at work. And who's the beneficiary of psychological safety? Everyone. Regardless of their gender identity, gender expression, sexual orientation, religion, color, language, all the personal characteristics beyond. Everybody wants to feel safe. It's a human right to feel safe, but that's not the case. Like Isis, you told us, shared your painful experience of transitioning. Had you felt safe to do it, your journey would have been much more comfortable, much more positive, and you could just day one focus on your work rather than what people think about you. So we tell, as a workplace pride, tell leaders, business leaders, it's universal design. So everybody benefits from LGBTQ plus inclusion.
Thank you for sharing. I just want to include the comments. So Lara Monkey is in the house and she's sharing a great conversation. Thank you all to the panelists, to Vivian for managing such an important talk. Amy is in and she is going to catch up later with the replay. So thank you. Hillary Richters, who is my ally in this whole ordeal also. So thank you, Hillary, for joining in this conversation. And we have the final 10 minutes. I want you to share your wish because today it's 2021. We have been the last 18 months or 19 months, it feels like 5 years have gone through, especially during this lockdown with all the challenges that we are dealing. And on top of that, we are also dealing with the fact that diversity, equity, and inclusion has been on a different, let's say the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion has been seen different. Given the topic that we are talking right now, what is your wish for 2025 when it comes to amplifying the voices of the Pride community? What do you hope to see in 4 years from now? 3. And I'll start with Olivia.
I think my big one is have more queer voices in senior leadership teams. Like we rarely see those who are like NB or trans in senior positions. Yeah. And now this is not something we should actually seek out, so like tokenism, but for more diverse senior recruitment should definitely be the forefront of hiring. That's definitely a big one for me. And then also more education on allyship. I mean, allyship isn't just for our community, but it's also for so many different IRG groups, and it's also something we can educate the people we interact with, you know, not only internally but externally with. And I would love to see kind of allyship not necessarily be a conversation you have all the time, but it's something that's already instilled in company culture.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely on the allyship, on everything, but the allyship part really touched my heart because when I look at the communication about allyship, it's catered towards otherwise the LGBT community or the Black community. We can all be allies. We all need allies. We all have superpowers or privileges. We all can use those powers to help somebody else. So let's amplify allyship throughout for every community, for every person, and use your power. Like Julie, I learned this from Julie. Julie said that sometimes the word privilege can feel a little bit, So let's talk about power. So use your power in a good way so that those who are from the underrepresented group can feel supported, can feel part of the inclusion. So thank you for highlighting that, Olivia.
Absolutely.
Isis. I have to unmute you. Sorry. Yes.
I would like to see unity and understanding and respect. Because until this day, it's especially here in the Netherlands, it's still difficult for trans people to find jobs.
Yeah.
And I would wish for 2025 for people to be more educated about trans people and accepting them for who they are, and for having safe workspaces for everyone.
I couldn't agree better. And I also want to share a reminder for those who are in the hiring position or those who are managers and leaders. Know that because of this lockdown, the positive thing of this lockdown has brought us is we can all work remote everywhere. So if there is a company out there that is supportive of transgenders, know that they will go there, know that they will talk about it, know that they will advocate for that company, know that you're losing talent just because you are not embracing people for who they are and the way they are. So given the fact that remote work has opened up the whole, it's like a Disney World right now where everybody can work everywhere but still work from home, means that you're losing talent elsewhere. So I would say definitely in the future have a conversation with Isis because she can share a lot of things where you might be missing out on transgenders who are amazing people anyway. So thank you, Isis, for sharing that.
Thank you.
Julie.
I hope by 2025 we would have progressed more about intersectionality within the context of LGBTIQ plus community. For example, I'm Asian, lesbian, I'm fine, you know. But whatever I can take, I'm okay. But what about many others within the LGBTIQ plus community is still suffering? For example, if you're non-binary and in your organization doesn't have all gender bathroom, you feel so uncomfortable going to just going to the bathroom. And you have to go through all this HR and then this, a manager, and then all these kind of talks, and takes for months just to get the bathroom. Or some organizations even decline, like, sorry, we don't have space. Can you just use that bathroom or that bathroom? So post-corona or with COVID, we probably need to live with it. But at some point, a lot of organizations are going to open up, and then people are going back to the office. So by 2025, I hope we will progress this discussion and have better representation and what kind of needs are there within the LGBTIQ plus community. And business leaders don't even question about, for example, placing all gender bathroom. Yes, we need it. Of course we need it. Why don't we have it? So that's my hope, that we have better representation within the community.
Thank you. And Leon?
Yeah, I hope by 2025 we have that awareness level that we are not judging the content of the book only on its cover. Because actually, I don't mind how you look like, or or whatever letter you represent, or what type of cultural background you are. For me is what type of value can you bring to make a company better. And that is what a leader should really care about. I also believe that in the entire alphabet of LGBT plus, we have covered the first two very well. But there is more ground to cover at all of the rest of the acronyms. And my last point, and that's a little bit reacting on what you said, Vivian, I don't believe that we all can work everywhere. That is applicable to white collar. If you look to blue collar, and it's a very old-fashioned way of dividing those two groups, but I think that everyone still understands, there is so much to gain in that area. And I hope that we are focusing in the next couple of years to also make a much more inclusive work environment for actually the blue collar people, because that is where a lot of attention needs to go. There is a lot to gain there.
Thank you. And also thank you for challenging me as well. So thank you. Scott?
Cultural winds can change on a dime. However, I'm going to be an optimist and say that irrespective of the long-term implications of the lockdown and all of this, that the progress that we as a community have made will continue exponentially. And I am also going to hope, I don't know that this is a realistic hope, but I'm still going to do it, that in 2025, people will look back and say exactly what Yuri mentioned earlier. We'll look back at bathrooms. Why were we even debating that sort of thing? Of course we have it. Pride on that day, I hope, represents a couple of things. Number one, the possibility and the imperatives that come when new issues emerge. When there are new people whose voices come out and say, we've been excluded, we've been left behind. Pride, I would like to be an emblem of what can be possible when those voices are heard and they organize and they are taken seriously, even if our own issues are apparently gone. And that last statement, by the way, goes us to the second thing that I hope Pride represents in 2025, which is non-complacency. Our advances, what we have achieved, as I mentioned right at the top of my statement, can disappear if cultural winds change. It can disappear like that. Allyship has become a popular concept now. But will those who are allies, or those of us who in 2025 think that what we've gained is there forever, are those things guaranteed? I say no. So Pride, I believe, will always, 2025 and forever, represent a place of some discomfort, a refusal to let complacency be part of our personal or our corporate cultural lexicon ever.
Thank you. Thank you so much, all. And final questions from the audience. So Lara is sharing, yes, we are not all knowledge workers, so thank you. And Hillary is about to challenge you all. So Hillary is sharing, in addition, why do we need separate communities? Why don't we all have one for underrepresented groups? To be honest, sometimes I think those different communities are difficult. I truly believe that together we are stronger. What do you all think about this? So I'll start with Isis. Yeah. You are muted. You muted yourself, Isis. Sorry.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
already mentioned unity. I think it's very important to have like it's like a nice salad. You have to have a little bit of everything to make something, a beautiful salad, to make it work. So I think that is really important, not to have just a company that is total gay or only lesbians, or it should be a beautiful mix of everything.
I love the fact that you're using food. So we love salads. Julie.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, it's a great suggestion, I guess. In the Learning and Development Program at Workplace Pride Amsterdam, one of the modules is called Together Stronger, Women and LGBTQ+, because we're all in this SHIT together. And when you talk about punishment gap, for example, that applies to not only LGBTQ+ people, but people of color and women. So it makes sense. And I still think I can understand why organizations want to have different ERG groups so that they can address their own their experiences and issues. Because I'm lesbian, but my experience as a person of color and being lesbian may be different. Maybe our experiences might be different, and it's okay to address those differently. And then so that we're the ingredients, and then we understand each other. Oh, you're a tomato, I'm cucumber. Okay, great. I think we should be together in the salad. So I think it's a good to start with the ERG groups, and then I still think it's better to work together, because then we can bring bigger change in the group or organization.
I love that. So Leon, what do you have to add to the salad?
It's very difficult to add even more spices and more ingredients to the salad, as we already have discussed. But I definitely believe that we have some common themes that if we raise our voice together, we are much more powerful in organizations. So I think we definitely need to do that. I also believe that sometimes you have to go back as tomatoes and cucumbers into your own type of category to discuss the specific challenges that you have, and to also feel comfortable and not taking anything else into account, and be the full 100 or maybe even more than 100% your authentic self. I also believe that for people that are progressed a little bit further in their career, you can be a great coach to someone from another group. Within my organization, I specifically actually am coaching people from a different cultural background. And this a very simple reason, because they said, you as a gay leader have been able to be your authentic self. You have found a way to be yourself at one side, but also you have cracked the code, how to navigate in the firm and how to make career in the firm. I really would like to learn from you. And, that's why, I coach. I think that 90% of my coaches are actually people from color and people from a different cultural background for this specific reason. So we have a lot to give and to take from each other.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you for highlighting that as well, Leon. Olivia.
So I have to agree with Yuli here. It's like we have ERGs individual IRGs individually so that we can focus on certain aspects of what makes us different. But we are all intersectional humans. Like I'm ADHD, I'm a queer woman, and I'm also an American in London. So like there's a lot of things going on. And but those are all aspects of how I identify. And so I'm in multiple IRGs or ERGs. So I participate in each of them and I put my voice in each of them. And then, just as I said earlier, it's all about then collaborating together. So if there are things that, you know, we need to unify on and work together on, we should. We shouldn't just kind of stay in our silos. We should really continue to facilitate those conversations between these separate ERG groups to make a bigger impact on companies.
Thank you. Scott, final word.
On the one hand, I believe aspirationally the idea of an umbrella group for all underrepresented that advocates on the behalf of common interests or that breeds some sort of deeper level of understanding and common resource sharing and all that stuff is great. And one day I want us to be in a place where we get there. And even now there are situations in which those affinity groups may unite and then advocate together. But I also want to err right now on the side of acknowledging realism. Just because someone is in one underrepresented group, don't mean that they support the others. And I do not think that the assumption that mutual support is there is always a fair one. I'll use two examples. One, I'm biracial, but I was adopted by an African-American family. And certain members of my family felt and told me explicitly that they believed me being gay was part of this white thing. And they didn't like the fact that I was hanging around all these white people, especially white gay ones. Now, is that really a leader, for instance, who you're going to want in your organization representing all underrepresented groups? At the same time, I will never forget a reason why I broke up with someone on the spot, because this person, after we dated very briefly, chose to use a certain very foul word associated with an ethnic group. The relationship was over. The mere fact that he was LGBTQ AI+ didn't mean that he was fit to be involved in any umbrella underrepresented organization group. And so unless and until everyone in that group can feel safe, I wouldn't have felt safe if any of those people were in such a group and I was asked to participate. Unless and until we're there, I do think, unfortunately, the need for the individual affinity groups is going to be there.
I think Hillary has her answer right now. And I love that. I am so grateful. I had to keep my emotions in, but I'm so grateful. And I'm sitting here with all these goosebumps, all these rainbows, all these heartfelt feeling because you shared, you dared to speak up, but you dared to speak up to an audience. I hope that they are listening. I hope that they learn from your insights. They feel inspired by what you all are sharing. But from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you all for kicking off the first live panel talk with such an important topic. So thank you all. Everybody's quiet.
You're more than welcome. It has been a privilege to be here, Vivian.
I was on mute. I want to thank you for this platform again. It's really awesome and really awesome to have a conversation with all of you. And thank you for this.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Really.
Bye, everybody. We have a live panel at 6 p.m. So join us then. And until next time, bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.